shot.
Let's give it a shot, George says.
Yeah.
He's George. I'm merely Ringer. Here it is. It's April.
It is.
It is. It's crazy.
Look at my shirt.
The Twins. There you go.
Day after tomorrow, there they are.
There they are, and they're kicking butt again today against the Boston Red Sox. So does that mean the Sox are holding back, or the Twins are playing that well?
I
I'm
mean,
not sure.
they got to make their last cuts. I think it was today or tomorrow. The last they have to cut down to.
I think they were pretty close. I think I heard this morning or something that they were close.
They get that bus transfer over to St. Paul. You know, that St. Paul's same thing. That's worked out pretty good. I really do believe.
You know, it seems to make a lot of sense.
It does.
You know, for some of these clubs, you know, I always think about the Iowa Cubs. Mm-hmm. Well, the trip from Iowa to Chicago, that wasn't too far away. I mean, the St. Paul Minneapolis thing is way cooler. Don't get me wrong, but it seemed ridiculous for our AAA team to be in Rochester or wherever.
Well, as long as you brought it up, I saw the Iowa Cubs play the Memphis Redbirds one time, and between the two of them, apparently, no love lost. It was about 90 degrees, and the place was packed, you know, and it's just like nobody was going to miss, and they're not friendly, you know, they don't like Cubs. And I didn't know that at the time, but I...
Well, yeah, like I said, this summer, I want to say if I don't make it to a Twins game, that's a lie, because I have Twins tickets for Sunday actually. But if I can't, I gotta make it to a Saints game this year.
Yeah, actually,
and maybe not so much to experience watching AAA baseball, but just to say that I've been to CHS Field. It's been up now for what 3-4 years, and I haven't been there yet, and that's a shame.
Well, and I'm not sure what's happened to minor league baseball in the last couple of years. If it got better, got worse. But there was a time AAA baseball was very, very good baseball, and it's just and fun to watch, you know. And so I'm hey, there's some. It's the spring of the year, you know. We all baseball is possibilities, just like life.
Oh, absolutely. And you know the big thing about AAA, I mentioned it on the radio this morning. Royce Lewis is the #1 prospect in the Twins organization. Had the ACL injury last year. COVID the year before that, so really hasn't gotten to play baseball as a #1 draft pick from about 4 years ago, I think, if I remember correctly. And he's a shortstop, remember, folks. And you might recall that we just signed Carlos Correa to a big contract. But remember, Carlos can opt out after a year, so maybe the Twins, maybe Falvey knew what the heck he was doing.
Well, you know, and also
I don't expect Carlos Correa to stay here. I'd love for him to stay here, but I don't think.
Well, and take a look at, they were also looking at Carlos's bat, because they need some bat in that lineup, and you know, and between him and Buxton, if they both stayed healthy and were able to play 140 games a year or so, who's to say just what might happen? You know, and it's like so they're going to start Joe Ryan. People are. Oh, they're making mockery of starting rotations all over the place, because, you know, they always say, hey, Joe, go get me 3 and I'll get you some help. You know, but you're going to see a whole bunch of starting pitchers that aren't going to go much past 4.5 or 5 innings. As soon as there's 2 people on base and they're going to start throwing it, they're going to have pitching staffs of 15, between 12 and 15. I'm not sure what that actually does for the game.
I think it's a good idea. Here's why. Spring training was shorter, so you're not going to see the pitchers throwing 6, 7, 8 innings early in the year. You're going to get those 4-inning games. You're going to get those 5-inning games. You're going to have pitch counts big time. You know, not that you haven't in the past, so I won't say that isn't there. But Major League Baseball, until the May 1st, I believe you can have up to 16 pitchers on the roster. So what they're trying to do is give them another month to get their stuff together, and then slice the rosters down, and they'll get them down to I think they can have them at 30 until then, and then they can cut them down to 26.
Tell me about this big relief prospect, Durant. Is that his name?
Yeah, I don't know a whole bunch about him, other than
they had a picture in the paper. He's a big lad. He's 6'5", he's 230, and he looks like he could move your house. You know, and he's got he's got a speed ball that's upwards in the 100 area. Now, the thing of it is, with that 100-mile-an-hour pitch, you know where it's going. And so
sometimes you don't. You want to keep those guys on edge.
Yeah, high and inside. But I'm looking forward to seeing him, and I think that they're looking at him as another possible starting prospect.
Okay. Well, I'll say this. Sonny Gray came out and pitched for the first time on Sunday, and threw 4 scoreless innings. Then you get Bailey Ober, who threw 4 innings and gave up 1 hit to the Boston Red Sox. So, I mean, Joe Ryan's going to get your opening day starter. I'm not saying they're going to do this every time. I'm not saying that the Twins...
as long as you're doing it to bring up Joe Ryan, the Twins really believe in this kid as a starter, and there's no reason for them not to.
Well, they got rid of Nelson Cruz for him. He better be able to.
Yeah.
He better be able to do something.
So I'm looking forward to watching him pitch. Whether or not Archer's going to help him out, I think that's one of those projects that are difficult to do. Apparently, his surgery was quite extensive.
Yeah, I think the thing is the Twins are going to be quite patient with him. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to give him lots of leeway. They're going to keep throwing him out there even when things are going bad, to let him pitch himself back into maybe somewhat of the shape that he was in when he was an All-Star in 2015 and 2017. I see this team being able to... just like any other baseball team, there are going to be days when these starting pitchers are not going to be good, and there are going to be other days when they're going to be lights out.
Oh no, they're ranked right now 9th in the American League, which I think is fair. They're and they're picking them to weigh. I mean, I've seen anywhere between 81 and 88 wins. Is probably more like 80, but they have some talent, and I think they have enough talent to make them fun to watch. And they have. They got another catcher to back up, so they got 2 good catchers. They're pretty solid all the way around the base defensively. If big Miguel, of course, he isn't as big as he was. I understand he took off a ton.
Yeah, about 25 pounds down, so good for him.
Good for him.
I think that'll make him a better hitter as well as a better fielder.
Oh, I thought he moved incredibly well for the size that he had.
He's got plenty of power to hit the ball a long way. He doesn't need to keep around that extra 25 pounds to do that. So, usually at this time of the year we would make our picks to who we think are going to be the top dogs. Would we like to consider that, or should we?
Well, I think going in
because I'm woefully unprepared, but I'll make a flyer.
No, if you take a look at the American League, I mean, you say Toronto, the Rays, New York, Boston. Where any of those teams are going to go. But I'll tell you right now, I think the White Sox are tough, and the Twins are a little further down the line. I'm going to have to go with Toronto on the American League, and on the National League, the boys in blue are going to be at it again.
Everybody says that it's the Dodgers and nobody's going to touch them, and that's what was supposed to happen last year, but I don't remember it occurring that way.
No, they got touched, but I'll tell you, we snared that Astro shortstop, and so they aren't going to have him to kick around anymore. They're going to miss him. He was very effective on that team.
Well, I know this establishment that we're sitting in, the Rainier Muni, says that the Twins are making their way. Their commercial that's on says they're making their way back to the top of the AL Central. And the guy who said that, I believe him, because it was me who said it in the commercial. I believe that the Twins somehow find a way. Okay, I'm not saying it's going to be pretty. I'm not going to say they're going to win 100 games, but some of these places that said 88 wins. I think this team can get to 80
wins.
And
as you know, throughout the season, the White Sox on paper can look real good. And, when you get to the 1st of August, everything kind of turns to shambles.
Well, and that's kind of the way it went last year for the Twins.
It is. 17 straight, and, they fell right out, and it's just like, but, they got some good people. You gotta rely on Max, and you gotta rely on Sano and a couple of these other senior people. And
there's probably gonna be a couple people that we haven't heard of before that are gonna crack out and do some things too.
And that's one thing about baseball. There's always somebody willing to take your spot, and there was one time that nobody ever heard of Lou Gehrig, but he turned out well. So
did okay for himself. Yeah, I agree with you. In the East, you could see any one of the four teams, and you never can count out Tampa Bay. Toronto's going to be there, and obviously in the mix. The Yankees should be there, no doubt about that, and so should the Red Sox. So I mean, they're going to have the AL East is going to be tough. Of course,
It's tough.
Of course, Baltimore. They keep saying how bad they are, but when you got to play against those four teams 19 times each, it makes that record kind of tough. And the Astros, well, until somebody knocks them off, and then of course Oakland, always there it seems like. So
Billy Bean does the job.
So I would say there's your 8 teams that you should pick from the AL side. And again, of course, Atlanta is your defending champs. They're the World Series champs, so you can't count those guys out.
No, you can't.
You never know who's going to make a move, but again, the Dodgers are going to be right there. I'd throw San Diego into the mix, except Tatis is out for about the first 3 months, and he kind of drives the San Diego Padres. And of course, in the middle, you know, Jay Bartkowski will be happy to hear me say this. The St. Louis Cardinals won 21 out of their last 23 games in September last year. You can never count out the Cardinals. The Brewers always seem to be there. The Cubs will probably be there. So there's your 3 teams out of the NL Central. And then, you know, you look out east, the Mets have been, you know, spending money, so you think that they're finally going to make a run, and the Nationals, and of course Philly's got that kid from Vegas. What's his name again? That I can't. Wow, come on, Tim.
Yeah.
All I can think of is Brian. But anyway, hello. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to be an interesting. And like you said it earlier. Hope springs eternal for every baseball team this time of the year, and we'll see how things go now. We said earlier, George said earlier that the opening day is on Thursday. They are already discussing that they're just going to move the game to Friday.
I don't know why.
Because the weather is so bad on Thursday, low 40s and snow possible on Thursday. So they're talking about just moving that game to Friday, which would be all right with me. But by Sunday, when my tickets are, they're talking low 60s.
Well, you know, and it's going to warm up, and then all next week, you know, it'll even resemble spring, probably. At least down there.
Eli's first Twins game.
Oh, big time.
So we'll see.
Big time.
So yeah, it ought to be interesting how he takes it all in. So it'll be fun. So hey, I would have never guessed when this show started that we were going to start with baseball because of course the Final Fours just got done.
Oh, it did.
I thought that would be our lead story, but apparently it got pushed to the side and whatever else. So
well, you know, like we said, you know, South Carolina was the best women's team in the country, and they deserved everything they got. And you know, they clamped down on Paige, and the first half they didn't give her a shot. She finally got a couple in the fourth quarter, but they would not get her open. And when that happens, some of those other kids are going to have to shoot, and they're going to have to shoot threes, and they weren't capable of doing that.
All I know was I was doing a Muskie hockey game on the radio, and I did have my phone sitting on top of our equipment, and I think I saw the score. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw something like 19-2.
It was, yeah. It was 22-4 at the quarter.
Okay, it was 22-4. At that point, the phone went off because I'm like, okay, this is over. I didn't get to listen to about the last 2 minutes on XM satellite radio, and it was over. I mean, it just was.
Well, UConn went down, scored back-to-back buckets. How did South Carolina handle that? Put on a full court press, and you know, and it not only, I mean, they picked up a couple of steals on that one, but you weren't able to kind of get into your offense the way you're comfortable setting up that half-court offense. And they were just all over him.
Are you sure they weren't playing with 6?
It sure looked like it, and it looked like it underneath the net too. You know, with young Miss Boston there, they had at one point 22 to 3 rebounds. They had 22 offensive boards, which are not that easy to get, and UConn had 3 defensive boards on that. Well, you can't win if you do that.
No, you cannot win.
No.
Win in that fashion. And yeah, you mentioned that South Carolina, the premier premier team in the nation, and a chance to go back and possibly do it all over again, depending upon the portal. And I mean, I just read before we started the show that St. Peter's, the men's team that made the run to the Elite Eight, they got 3 of their starters are into the portal.
And the coach already left.
And it's just kind of like, well, there's so much for loyalty, and true to my colors, and yeah, rah rah. Anyway,
Yeah.
what would P. Ross say about that? About rah rah. Anyway, that's as soon as I
That
say
was
rah
just,
rah rah.
especially a Jesuit school.
So anyway, yeah, the women's, the Stanford UConn game on Friday night. I didn't get to watch much of that one either because I was doing a hockey game on the radio. But it sounded like that game was pretty good against South Carolina, dominated Louisville. But the Stanford Connecticut game was a pretty dandy one.
It was a dandy one, and of course, what was exciting about it, the place was packed with Page and Connecticut fans, and you couple that with the South Carolina fans that were still left over, the place was absolutely packed. South Carolina brings a big entourage when they travel, and they were probably the second biggest one, past everybody in Hopkins that was there. Yeah. But it was exciting to watch that, and Paige had a very good time, and I mean, you don't know the basketball monster she's going to run into 2 nights later, and Boston was exactly that. She really, I called her the Gable Steveson of women's basketball. She dominated that much. So I made up that on my own.
See that?
Yeah.
The scary thing that I found, and of course, I get into the numbers because I'm a numbers guy, but Gino Oriamo was 11-0 in national championship games prior to Sunday night. So his first loss in a national championship game after winning 11 straight. The law averages says it's going to happen, right?
Well, one of my favorite radio journalists said, you weren't going to win this game with the rules as they are. Somebody must have went into the officials and said, let them play. And when you let them play, and somebody like that who's so physically dominating, I mean, she could have played forward on an awful lot of men's teams, and and she's got a pretty good shot besides. But just for her to set up and set that base, what is she? She's 6'3", about 225, 230. She's really pieced together, this girl, and that's what dominance is all about, and she showed it.
Well, I didn't get to watch much of that women's game, as I mentioned, but I did get to watch the men's game on Monday night.
Great game.
And I want to echo what you just said. I watched about the first 3 minutes and just about turned it off because I'm like, if they're going to let them travel every time they touch the basketball, because that's what it seemed like the big fellow from Kansas wanted to do. Every time he touched the ball, the first thing he did was shuffle his feet
backwards. That little step.
Get that little totter step and get himself in about another 18 to 24 inches back in there without ever putting the ball on the floor. And then would do something, and he's dominant, don't get me wrong. But then the pushing and the shoving and the whatever else, and I'm just like...
That was brutal under there.
I'm kind of like, okay, I get you got to let him play, but holy... Yeah, anyway, I did watch a good share of it while the Eli and I wrestled around, and we also... There was also The Sandlot on, the best movie ever, and I was having a tough time keeping him from watching... because it's got one good theme after another, good scene one after another. He is completely sold. So we already have a date for this weekend to watch the entire movie that we have on VHS. Might I add, from the old days. And so we already penciled in for Saturday that we will sit down and watch it in its entirety. So how can you go wrong? It's baseball season. Before he goes watches a Twins game, we're going to watch The Sandlot.
When he breaks into that yard and gets that baseball and that dog has it in its mouth, you look at that and you just think, oh, you're going to die now. It's just like, and the fear in this kid's face is just amazing. I agree. One of my favorite movies.
Very good movies.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the men's basketball game, when Kansas was down 15 at halftime, you knew they would make a run, but you would think they would run out of gas and not be able to finish the game.
One of the things, and I've seen Kansas play quite a few times, and they run the court really, really well, and they have a very, very talented team. And so, no matter what was going to happen here, Kansas had the talent to give that a run, and they just started chipping away and chipping away and chipping away, and then they went
away in a hurry because it only took them 9 minutes to tie it. About 9 and a half.
It was 40-25 at half.
But it was tied at 50 with 10:53 left. I'm like, holy.
Well, and it wound up being 45-43, and I looked at that and I says, that's a comeback.
That's a comeback.
And and from that point in time, they were very, very difficult to stop.
Can I continue to be whatever about
Yeah.
Monday night's game? Some of the most horrific three-point shooting I've seen in my life. Now, I had a guy
No,
who,
it was horrible.
who I always see at Hardy's, Dave, and Dave was telling me about Elgin Baylor and that he always shot a frozen rope, and somehow it always went in. Well, these guys were shooting frozen ropes last night, and all it was bricks.
Oh, they weren't close.
I'm serious. The ball went through the air like this at the basket. They were jumping that high, and the ball's going, and I'm like, guys, like this.
Oh, you mean you could do?
Like this.
Somebody said you could do that with free throws too, but I don't know.
It was horrible. How did these guys get a college scholarship?
I don't know, but the
They
shooting.
must be able to defend and
Well,
run.
and actually, if I had to, and I you know me, I'm not overly critical, but if I had to compare the women's and the men's, the women's tournament was much better played. And it's just like the men they're fast, they get up and down the court, they don't play defense very well. Everybody's going for the bucket all the time, and that gets to be a little bit long unless you're Elgin Baylor. And
yeah, they scored 141 points last night, and I'm not sure how they got there, because Kansas had 25 at half, they scored 47 in the second half, but the 3-point shooting was laser sharp, and that, like I said, it's just like
boom,
like this. So anyway, you would think that somebody would be telling them, and okay, they're tense, they're nervous, they're whatever. Shoot the ball some more. Anyway, but how about Saturday night? Because we got to talk about Duke in North Carolina.
Well, that is the movie-making scheme of the whole thing. Now, my good friend Patrick Russi, he doesn't think too much of Coach K, and they've had conflict for a long time. So he's perfectly happy that Coach K, he's arrogant and he gets what he had coming. But anyway, that being said, it was really a good basketball game, and it was fun to watch. And there was a lot of good things. I mean, I understand how he hates to lose, and all good coaches are like that. They're obsessed with it because they know how lousy they feel if they don't win, and that's where K is like. But I'm not sure. I don't see a whole lot of his players going back and saying thanks, Coach K, or any of the rest of that. I see him do that to Coach Bob, and that's because Bobby Knight had about 90% of his kids that went to Indiana graduated from college, and Coach K, about 75% of the kids he had were gone in 2 years, if not one.
Yeah, and I think about let's go back to Christian Laettner. Let's go back because it's a little bit different time now with kids being able to leave after a year, or that seems to be the new thing, because it was Laettner was there and Hill and all those guys, if you want to talk Duke.
It was a good team.
They went and got their degrees. It's not the way you do it necessarily anymore, because that's not the type of player that he brings in overall, I would say.
No, but it's what it is. It's the type of thing that draws the coach's attention to his players, and this is what they're here for. Right now, you're saying to the players, "Come here. If you perform, you can go make a whole lot of money." And before, it used to be, "Come here if you perform, and you can walk out with an education."
I agree.
And you and I know that even although they're going to make an awful lot of dough, that's still the important thing. I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I thought it was an interesting. Dwayne mentioned this on the radio yesterday morning, that the Duke kids didn't wait to shake hands with the Carolina kids. Kind of walked off the floor, and I agree with them. I noticed it at the time when it happened, but I also thought Carolina celebrated excessively long. Usually you go celebrate, unless it's a national championship, you celebrate, you go shake hands, and then you celebrate some more. The Carolina kids, and I'm not blaming either side.
Well, no, but and as long as we're there, let's talk about this Carolina team. They come in seeded 8th. Unless they would have won their ACC conference, it wasn't all assured that they were even going to get into the tournament. And they turned it on the gas in the last 6-8 weeks and became that stereotypic hot team. And they did. They played
They were this tournament's UCLA from last,
Exactly.
That's
That's
how
very
it
good. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. And it's, it was fun to see him. It was fun to see, I mean,
well, if you
Tobacco
like, if
Tobacco
you
Road
don't mind
was.
North Carolina,
Yeah.
I'm not a big North Carolina lover, but
I'm not a Duke lover either, but
neither.
but it's like you go down Tobacco Road and you see North Carolina, Duke, NC State, the rest of these things. I mean, you have to admit there is a certain throne of basketball in that place, and it's just and so it was a good way for Bobby to end, or for Coach K to end, and the other North Carolina coach, he's just beginning.
Yeah, Hubert Davis just getting things started. He was a little amped up at halftime last night.
He was pumped
in his interview, and I like I said, when Carolina went on their 16-0 run last night, I'm sitting there kind of watching it, kind of going, how can this happen? A, Kansas is supposed to be pretty good defensively, and B, how can they not buy a bucket? Yeah. Anyway, it was good stuff. It was good theater. Congratulations to Kansas. They were the only number one seed to make the Final Four, and they won it. So I guess all's probably right in the world. The run of number one teams winning the tournament continues.
No, and you have to. And the tournament was so much fun in that, St. Peter's, for what they did. I mean, Kentucky, Purdue, give me a break. They were good. They weren't that good, but they were, and they had a charismatic coach that.
So is their run better than North Carolina's run to the championship game?
It's if they would have won more games, it certainly would have been, and it's but I think that they kind of became the Chicago Loyola from a few years back, and it's except they had Sister Jean.
Well, and I think Carolina's run, they were the second number 8 seed to ever make it to the title game, and like I said, probably good for basketball. I'm sure there was a lot of people. I saw a notification today that said 4.66 million people were the average for the women's basketball game on ESPN on Sunday night. That's the most watched final since 2004. So things kind of took a dip, but I think there were. I think it's intriguing. I think last night's game was intriguing in the idea that Carolina was this underdog 8th seed that was coming through, and I'm sure there were a ton of people watching it.
Well, they had almost 18-3 for all the games, and they were all sold out, and and so it's good to see it. But women's basketball is an awfully easy product to put out right now because these women are good and they're getting better, and so it's just
So let's talk about Sarah Scalia leaving the Gophers.
And I'm not sure she's the only one.
Well, no, and so what do you want to attribute it to? What's the scoop? Because we found this out about 30 seconds after we hit the stop button on our record button last week.
Yeah.
That she was leaving the program, and the story says she wants to go to a winner, and it's like. Okay, to make us a winner, or do you just want to go right on the coattails of somebody?
Well, and it might be that she's taking a look, and they got a good crew of freshmen coming in. I don't know if they have anybody that will replace her right off the bat, but they have good people coming in, and that's a lot of times why these kids enter that transfer portal is because, hey, I got a better deal over here, and I'm for sure I'm going to get a starting position and be team queen. And
Sarah Scalia would have been the team queen.
She would have been
the boss, as far as I can tell. But apparently the scary of those 4 freshmen that were coming in are scaring everybody away. That Lindsay's put all her eggs onto this basket with these 4 girls, and that's who knows. It's all speculation. I don't know. I know these 4 girls are good. I hope they're as good as we're talking. But I also know how good you have to be, I think, and I don't know if they're that good. But let's.
Well, and of course I am hearing some things, and it's just like, and it's not anything against Lindsay. I mean, she is going into the NBA Hall of Fame, and she's just got herself a nice contract. She is the queen of Minnesota Gophers, and so we're assuming that she can draw some of this great Minnesota talent that's been slipping through our fingers. And I mean,
Sarah Scalia would be included, I hope, in that. That's slipping through our fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, hopefully there's some portal action going there. They need some inside presence.
They do.
Do the Gopher women, and we'll see if they get that. And of course, we haven't heard a whole bunch about the Gopher men doing anything splash-wise. But now that we know who the champs are and everything else, I think we'll start to see some more of that come along as well. You want to stick with basketball and talk about your Timberwolves?
We can talk about Timberwolves. Let's do that.
Timberwolves, 3 games remaining as we record this show. They play Washington tonight, which should be a win. They play San Antonio on Thursday, which should be a win. And they got Chicago on Sunday, which flip a coin and see what happens.
No, but at this point in time in the season, they should be beating these teams.
Oh,
There's no reason for them to lose to the Clippers. I mean, they were beating them in L.A. And it seems like, I don't know, Russell's back in the lineup, and there's other injuries that are coming back. Edwards is back. Who's to say what he'll do? But they're bringing this team together right now.
Well, I did not realize this. The play-in games that come for 7 through 10. I hadn't watched it close enough last year. I don't think I didn't remember this, but 7 and 8 play each other in the 7-8 game, and 9 and 10 play. I'd forgotten about this till I read it yesterday or the day before. And then the loser of the 7-8, winner of the 7-8 goes right to the 7th seed. The loser of that game gets to play the winner of the 9-10 game for that 8th and final spot. So it looks like the Timberwolves will be in that position.
I think they will too.
They're going to be 7, and they're going to get to play the 8th, and hopefully they just take care of business. And that would look like that as of right now.
We always say it's generational. It looks like L.A. isn't probably even going to make the playoffs.
Darn it, George! The Lakers aren't going to make the. I'm so sad.
There was a time, you got to remember, in my youth, the Lakers were my favorite team. Because they were in Minneapolis.
I was going to say, in your youth was a long time ago, George. Dang you! No, this doesn't hurt me at all. They tried to put this super team together, and they can tell me about the injuries and.
Well, I tell you right now,
they're
playing up to their expectations, and they have a chance to go beyond those expectations. Now, that might be that haven't seen this too often for them to get the playoffs, and where can they go from there? But they can play good basketball. We know that. And so.
Well, I would hope that
they should. No reason for them.
If they make it into the playoffs, the play-in tournament isn't considered making it in the playoffs. I would hope that people aren't going to say, well, if they lose to Memphis in 5 games or 6 games, I hope they're not going to go, well, they choked. You know how Minnesota fans are.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh, their disappointment. They choked it away. They finally make the playoffs and they can't even win a series. Well, wait a minute now, folks. You might recall that they haven't been in the playoffs since like 1922. In this whatever. This is a thing that has to be built up. This is a thing that they're going to have to build maybe 3 years.
No, and last time they were in playoffs, the Lakers knocked them off, and they won the championship. So that's who they picked up the first round. Well, good luck with that. But this is a different team. This team has some possibilities. They have a big bench. They've got all kinds of people down there they can pull out. And they're, and you don't even know who's going to get the good play. They pull a 6th or 7th guy off, and he winds up getting 20 points. If they can play defense and they stay away from injuries, hey, they're going to be fun to watch.
They just gave up 132 to Houston.
Yeah, that was bad. But
even Cat said we scored 80 and decided that we didn't have to play defense, and they didn't.
No.
So.
Well, that's one of the things. I mean, defense. Hey. Even in pro basketball, is still the essential. It really is.
And then just to show you that anything goes, Phoenix loses the other night to, who was it on Sunday night that they lost to? Somebody that they shouldn't even be on the same floor with them. Anyway, it's always a possibility. So yeah, the play-in tournament starts next Tuesday, the 12th, and then the actual playoffs start Saturday the 16th.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Next week we'll hopefully be talking about the Wolves and where they are at. Hopefully we're talking about the fact that that they are in the playoffs.
Well, and keep in mind they're not only in the playoffs, but we'll get to them in a little bit. But the Wild are in as well. When was the last time two Twin Cities teams have been in the playoffs together? Long time. So
Quite a while.
Yeah, quite a while.
So does that mean you'd like to transition to talk about your Minnesota Wild?
Hey, you know something? You get a really close look at them, even a little bit more than I do, because I watch them pretty much a little bit when they're on. But these trades that they made seem to have made a difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, and don't anybody get me wrong, I love Capo Kakkonen, but he's not Marc-Andre Fleury. Let's be serious with all that. So they got two pretty capable goaltenders. The boys now in front of them are playing with all kinds of confidence because they got somebody on the back end that's going to take care of them. The Delorier coming in from Anaheim, a little bit of an enforcer. Now Foligno doesn't have to go out there and decide, should I score goals or do I have to fight for these boneheads who get themselves into trouble. Delorier will take care of that business. Joe scored his first goal the other night after coming over from Denver. Middleton's been in the mix. So, yeah, this team is playing with a lot of confidence. The one thing that somebody might say is they don't have big enough defensemen, Mike Bolstead, and that's something that you can't get the guys
Well,
that
I don't even hold it. I mean, Matt Dumba's not that big of a defenseman, and he does real well in that league and has for a long time.
But a lot of people would say that Matt Dumba is not a good he's an offensive defenseman. He's not a great defenseman that can shut other top lines down. I mean, that's the complaint, and so I'm saying that not because I want to disagree or I agree with the people who say that he's not good enough, but everybody will say, well, Jared Spurgeon he's too small. Dumba, he's too small. Every defenseman you go down the line, he's too small, and they don't have that big brute, and obviously every team's got a deficiency that they have to overcome. And that'll possibly be one of the few that the Wild have. Of course, other people say they don't have a full good first line. Ryan Hartman and Zuccarello would be considered maybe not top flight guys, but I would put Jake Gensel in there. He's playing with.
Their success has been phenomenal.
You go play with these other lines. You get put on the line with superstars, and all of a sudden you get to be pretty good. Well, you go play with Kirill Kaprizov, all of a sudden you're pretty good.
Well, and if the other goalie happens to be Fleury, in Talbert's term, he turns out to be a better goaltender. He is hot as a pistol right now, and
But I think that was one of the reasons why they felt like they had to go get Fleury, because Talbot was an all-star, came out of the all-star break and didn't play very well.
No.
And all of a sudden everybody started to panic a little bit, like what's going on. And it'll be interesting to see how they play Fleury in the playoffs, because if he is responsible for 4 wins in the first 2 rounds,
he'll play.
No, let me finish this now, George. If he's responsible for 4 wins, that second round pick changes to a first round pick. So will they, if he gets the 3 wins, will they sit him down until they make the championship series on the Western Conference, and then ride him through the Western Conference and possibly the Stanley Cup final?
Isn't that illegal?
No, I don't think it's illegal. I think it's a good possibility. Stay tuned. I don't think. Hey, I know they want to make it and they're going to play to win. But I think a lot of people feel like once we get to the playoffs, they're going to pick a goaltender, and I think that's not going to happen. I think this is a team that is going to continue to rotate them because of age.
Well, on top of that, Talbot's a good goalie.
He is.
So
I think this is something that they know. They've had a talk with the boys, and both of them, and said, look, this is right what we're going to do. And in my opinion, a lot of hockey purists might say, well, you can't do that. When you get a hot goaltender, you ride him in the playoffs. I don't think Dean Evason does that. Dean Evason doesn't follow the curve, doesn't do what everybody else. Hey, he starts pulling his goaltender with like 3.5 minutes left. No coach done that except Patrick Roy. And what does Dean Evason do? He pulls his goaltender with 6 minutes.
6 minutes.
He'll pull him with 6 minutes for me. Yeah. So he knows the game. He knows what to do, but he also isn't afraid to go out on his own. So, Kirill now sitting out there with the right number of points. He's just off on the number of goals to be the all-time season leader for the Wild. It's just a matter of time. And like I said, these other teams are looking at the Wild saying this is a tough team just because of the things they can do, and it's going to be a fun stretch. They've got 13 or 14 games remaining, starting tonight with the Predators, and then to St. Louis, and then back home. And hopefully we'll get to see them, like I said, continue to play good hockey, stay healthy, and do all those things. And then, once the playoffs start about May 3rd or 4th, let's have some fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, XL is popping these days in their games. Yeah, you've seen that. You know that. So everybody seems to be having fun.
They've been popping for a while, but this makes it even a little bit more exciting.
Yeah.
And I think, they always say the players feed off the fans. Well, I think the fans are feeding off the players and knowing that this team is pretty good. So it ramps both of them up. And like I said, it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a great experience, hopefully, this spring. And hopefully it's a long, joyous run.
Well, I talked to a very well-known hockey player just last week, and he says, I watched the Wild. They skate around in circles, George. And I says, they do. I says, sometimes Kaprizov, he can take 2, maybe even 3 laps and just sit down. He says, I've never seen them pass the puck like that, go around in circles. And and they do that a lot. But to somebody that hasn't seen that, is, that's amazing stuff.
Yeah, he's pretty multi-talented. Austin Matthews, 54 goals now for Toronto, ties the Maple Leafs all-time record. And again, there's still 3.5 weeks left in the season, so he's going to obliterate that record, you would assume. Leon Draisaitl, he's got 50 goals and 50 assists in the same season at the same time.
So 37 is just kind of also rounds.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's some pretty good talent out there. Obviously, I didn't mention Connor McDavid. I don't want any hockey players, thinking that I forgot about the best player in the world, which is the moniker that Connor McDavid gets, and I'm okay with that to a certain extent. He's pretty multi-talented, best player in the world. That's a lot. He's good. Joey Payer, don't get mad at me. He's good, but he plays for Edmonton, so I have to disagree.
Yeah.
So as long as we're talking about Canadian hockey, Muskie boys and girls both playing for championships this week. Been following them around, and the girls playing a best-of-3 game championship series, and they won on Sunday afternoon. So get to go back to Dryden.
Attaboy.
I hadn't been to Dryden in my life. I get to go to Dryden.
Oh, really? This is the first trip, huh?
First trip ever to Dryden last, Tuesday. And 8 days later, I'll get to go back to Dryden again. So I'm looking forward to that. Game 3 of the best-of-3, and then the Muskie boys at home on Friday night. So both could be win, no loss in championships. So hopefully... Hey, there's nothing better than championship hockey, right?
That's when it gets good.
When you get a chance, and hopefully both of those teams will be able to take care of business.
Well, we got some college hockey coming up too.
Really?
Yeah. You don't even want to bring it up, do you?
No, we're going to bring it up. No. I'm just afraid that everybody in our circle, your circle, my circle, everybody's pulling for the maroon and gold, and I got some purple in me. I feel like I'm a Bronco, so that means I gotta pull for the Mavericks. Right?
Well, that's fine, and and I always, in the old days when the Broncos, they actually had maroon and gold. The purple was kind of a dark old-fashioned purple, not this bright stuff. But anyway, no, I see the Minnesota Gophers as being a very powerful offensive hockey team. I see Mankato State. They probably have the best goalie in the tournament, and so this is a classic struggle.
I agree with you. And Mankato, I had a chance to watch them against UMD, and they suffocate you.
Yeah, they do.
They pressure you into making mistakes, and then they take advantage. And you would think with the way that they forecheck and pressure the puck that they would give up lots of odd man rushes. They don't. They play great defensive hockey. They're very talented, and nothing against Dryden McKay, folks. I think he is a great goaltender, but I think he plays the benefits, gets the dividends of the defense and the play in front of him. A lot like what Ryan Fanti.
Oh, and they should,
does.
yeah.
And again, I we all love Fanti. At least that's what they cheer at the UMD hockey games. But Fanti gets the product of having a great defense in front of him as well, a system in front of him that knows what to do, and the kids that know how to play hockey, play defensive hockey. So Mankato is that defensive team that when you look at it, they're going to be tough to beat. Think about this: they've won 17 straight, 26 of their last 27. Now, I understand they play in the CCHA, and some people might say, well, it's a little the talent in the CCHA isn't what it is in the NCHC. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. But I don't care. Hockey is one of those games where the puck luck and the bounce of a puck have a tendency sometimes to catch up with you. And Mankato has made that through 26 of the last 27 times in the playoffs, in the NCAA tournament. So, again, I agree. 7:30 Thursday night, classic game between Mankato and the Gophers. I think it's gonna be probably a 1-goal game right down to the wire.
I love Minnesota hockey in so much. You have Mankato, St. Cloud, Bemidji, UMD, University, St. Thomas. Now you have all these teams, mostly or oftentimes relying on Minnesota talent, and it's indication of just. I mean, I'm seeing these hockey programs around the state. Some of them are amazing. They've got a lot of money. They have dry land training facilities. They have extra rinks. So, if there's a lot of communities putting money into these programs, and that's when they talk about the program here in the Falls, that's what I see. These are not expenses. These are investments, and you make these investments for your kids. Do they pay off in the long run? Well, they do, in so much that if you wait and not do it, in 10 years, it's going to cost a lot more. And so,
I think I've been spending a lot of time in Ice for Kids Arena over in Fort Francis this week, and when you walk in the door, you see a big sign up there that says, volunteerism is the expense paid for a good community or a great community. And that's exactly right. You've got to make investments in your youth and your kids, otherwise the community... There's
a big board down at the garden at the garden rink in Warroad, and up there it says, "Come early, stay late, skate every day." And you see that this is somebody came up with this, and somebody makes sure that rink is open 24 hours a day. You can go skate there. They have a rink that goes completely around town. I thought that's really a good idea. Yeah, Toronto has one too. And these are all over Canada. That's what they've been putting up. People skate.
People skate?
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see now. We've got baseball we've talked about. We got basketball taken care of. I think we just got through hockey. What's left?
I'll tell you, it's one of the things now. We've got basketball, college basketball's over and everything. The rest of these coming. But more people are going to be watching television Thursday than because Tiger is back, and he's going to play on Thursday in the Masters tournament. And this came up this afternoon when I'm sitting around listening to Mike Rand, and this flashes on. There's all the trouble in the world, and you have all these really fine journalists talking up what was the story that took the breaking news. Tiger is back.
So I'm going to throw this wrench into the fray, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that they always talked about was golfers having to play themselves into shape to play at the Masters. Okay, we got to play a couple of weeks before, and we got to play this type of course so that we get ready. And we couldn't put the World Match Play event closer to the Masters because it was going to take away from the Masters, and you couldn't move the Players' Championship from May to March because it was going to screw up the Masters and everything else. And we got to play. Tiger Woods just blew that out of the water. He's been one of the biggest proponents of, I got to make sure that I'm prepared and then take the week off. Take the week off before, and then I can go play the Masters.
He was actually there for a week, and he played for a week, and then took the week off, and then came back. So part of that was there.
There's a difference between going out and slapping it around and putting 27 times on each green, and then actually going out there and playing competitively. And I think Tiger Woods would be the first one to
that's why he has absolutely no chance of winning this tournament, and that's exactly why millions of people are going to be watching him.
Because they want to see him fail?
No, because they want to see if he does have a chance. It's just like, it's a slim chance, and for what he's attempting to do.
We've been talking about fairy tales and movies and whatever else. I mean, Tiger doesn't need anything else to make a movie or three even. But, yeah, obviously...
I think he wants to play long enough so he and his son can play in the tournament together. And that would be...
Obviously, I think someday that will happen.
Yeah.
I read a story today that talked about the fact that he does have a limp when you watch him.
Oh, he does, yeah.
There's a little bit of a limp there,
Yeah.
and so it's obviously people are going to be watching on Thursday at the Masters, Friday at the Masters. It's going to be whatever, and if he makes the weekend, CBS is going to be wetting themselves on the ratings that they're going to get if he makes it to the weekend.
Well, see, we've kind of, I mean, you ask, what's possible? Ask Tom Brady what's possible. He's 43 and still getting his head slapped around. You know, it's just, well, I'm not sure what's possible. I'm not sure. I do know a couple of things that I've been reading. The golf course is long, and it favors long drivers, and Tiger doesn't have that long drive anymore. And so they think, and they stretched out the length of the course for exactly that. That's what they wanted, you know, is, you know, the big long drives. But, you know, I bet you can sure rip up a par 3 course.
Well, like I said, it's one of those things that, it's going to make things crazy, and you try to look and see who might the favorites be. And of course, you talk about the Jordan Spieth, the Dustin Johnsons, your typical. There's probably a dozen players who we think probably can win. Only a dozen players, even though they're going to let 80 whatever into the field, how many ever it is, and you know, pare it down. But you would think that, you know, there's going to be probably only a dozen guys out there that can win it, and I think Tiger, like you mentioned, Tiger's not one of those that probably fits the bill right now.
I think it would be amazed if he made the cut.
Oh.
I just, you know, and
that would be a story in itself.
That would be a story in itself.
Played competitively in 17 months.
Yeah, no, it's
it's not a course that he's not familiar with.
Exactly.
You know, obviously that's one of the only major that gets played at the same place every year. So
it's my favorite golf course because they had the Eisenhower tree, and the Eisenhower tree, Ike used to hit it all the time, and he always wanted to cut it down. And it fell down a couple of years ago, so they had to take it down. But I thought, you're a great president when you get a tree named after you on the golf course. That's the Eisenhower tree.
Yeah, not too shabby.
No.
You want to take a flyer at who's going to win it?
The golf tournament?
Yeah, who's going to win it all?
Oh, it's hard to really say on that one, but you know, like you say, a half a dozen guys, and there's somebody going to pop up that you just say, well, you know.
I failed to mention one guy who's always there, and he's playing with Tiger. They brought out the pairings for the first 3 days. Louis Oosthuizen.
Yes.
Always in the mix. Charles Schwartzel. Always in the mix. Doesn't matter if they've been playing good golf or not. They get to the Masters, and there they are.
Well,
Sunday,
you know,
there they are, top 10.
And you always say, geez, you know, they always finish in the middle. If you finish the middle in the Masters, you're probably a pretty good golfer. And you know, and so if you finish in the top 10, you're amongst the best in the world. So we kind of have to take that. I'd like to see Alyssa Boston give a swipe on a swing and see how far she could drive that sucker. But I'm not a golfer, but I enjoy it because it reminds me of summer. And in this case, I will be watching Tiger just to see what's possible.
So Thursday, you got opening day of baseball. That gets started about noon. Of course, the Twins are scheduled for 3 o'clock. The Masters starts at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then you got 4 o'clock, you've got Denver and Michigan playing on ESPNU, and followed by Minnesota and Mankato State. So I don't know if I should plan anything for Thursday other than to just get this set up.
Well,
and then get my computer set up and a TV and maybe get some snacks and a beverage or 3, and then tell everybody, leave me alone. Don't talk to me. I'm busy. I got stuff to do. I'm working.
I got to take just a couple hours off.
Because?
There's a girl lady behind the bar that I got to come and talk to.
On Thursday?
Yeah.
On a Thursday?
Thursday, I always come and talk to her.
Well, they'll have the TVs on here, won't they?
They got around. You can walk around and see ball, golf, just kind of walk around,
I'm
pick
sure
them all
if the
up.
Twins are playing, they'll have that on one, they'll have
Yeah.
the golf on the other, and
There's even some hockey fans around here.
there might even be a hockey fan
Yeah.
or 3 in this town. You just
Yeah.
never know.
You never know.
What else have we got?
Let's see here. Projection for the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow.
Already.
You're thinking NFL draft.
We are thinking NFL draft. Right now, the Vikings are projected to win
8.5.
8.5 games.
Same as they were last year.
Yeah. And people are wondering, are we reaching for a level of mediocrity that
Well,
we can't get out of?
That's what the NFL wants, is everybody at 8-8 so that everybody's in the playoffs. Well, I mean, everybody can't be 8-8. Everybody's 9-8 or 8-9. That's what they want now. That's what they're looking for.
Well, maybe
so,
yeah.
So that everybody keeps coming to the middle. So everybody's in the mix so that they sell tickets and the TV ratings are. That's what they want. That's why the draft is the way that it is. And all the rest of the things. The salary cap helps that out so that teams can't stay dominant and everything else. So 8.5 wins. Don't get me wrong on this, bookies in Vegas. You guys are right more often than not. But right now they've got to set the number where they think it's going to be because they've got a rookie coach, new coaches with players and everything else. I'm okay that Vegas set the number at 8.5.
Well, I think that's appropriate.
I think the number is going to be 10. I think that's what they're going to win. I think Kirk Cousins is going to become even a better quarterback with an offense that's suited to him, not rather than him to an offense for him, so that he can be the best that he can be. I think he's got the coach that's going to do that. So I think the Vikings are going to be okay. 8.5 is a nice number. 10 is going to be the number where it's got to be, though. I think 10-7.
And so you know what the projection for the Twins are?
Well, I've heard all kinds of projections.
81 and 81. So it's just like I say, our Minnesota sports, we've reached a. We'll win if we held at 500.
The Timberwolves were probably 41 and 41 too.
The Timberwolves are high now. They're pumped.
Well, no, but I mean before the season started, 41 and 41 was probably about right where they were at. So. Well, I thought you were thinking draft already. The draft was only 3 weeks away from the draft.
Let's talk about the draft. I think that the draft is going to be, the first 15 are going to be a lot of defense people. They're going to be cornerbacks. They're going to be edge rushers. There's going to be defensive linemen. Defensive linemen might go in the first few.
Absolutely. Of course, the kid from Michigan blew an Achilles there, so that kind of takes him out of the loop. He was projected maybe top 10.
Yep.
Somebody will probably take a flyer on him in the second, third round, hoping that he'll be healthy enough in a year or so. I thought it was interesting. This is the first time I've ever seen this in my whole entire life. Okay, Philadelphia and New Orleans swapped 7 or was it 8 draft picks?
Yeah, a whole bunch. Yeah.
8 draft picks. No players involved. 8 draft picks, including New Orleans getting 16 and 19 and giving up 18 and.
That must have been quite a phone call.
I'm like, well, you want this? Well, okay, we'll give you that. Well, how about this? Well, if you're going to give me that, how about I give you this? Yeah, how about, and then you add this in and I'll throw this. Yeah. So 5. And, of course, everybody's analyzing it and saying that I believe they thought that Philly got the better of it, I think, if I remember reading it correctly. And, 8 draft picks involved. That was it. Not a player in the bunch. So, interesting. So
it was quite a shuffle.
I don't think things are done there yet. If anything we've learned about this offseason so far with all the tradings of the quarterbacks and the signings and everything else is teams are taking a different approach right now. We haven't seen action like this before.
Let me ask you about Kayler Mond. Oh, I mean he's number 2 or number 3 quarterback.
Did you see the? I thought it was going to be a curveball.
Yeah.
He threw me a screwball.
Yeah,
it broke the other way on that one because I didn't see this one. Kellen Mond. I never was a Kellen Mond fan when he came out of college. I know we drafted him in the 3rd round.
Oh, he was fun to watch in college.
I thought he's a 3rd round pick. I don't know if he'll ever be a pro quarterback. it's very possible that he could be. Mike Zimmer and I agree on a few things, and him and I probably agree on Kellen Mond that he's probably not the answer. He is not the long-range future for the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, and
but you drafted him in the third round, and that's probably where he should have been picked. And sometimes guys go this way, and sometimes they stay here, and sometimes they drop off the face of the earth. Kellen Mond still could be a great quarterback.
Well,
maybe all he needs is the right quarterback.
And the tail end of his college career, he was hot as hot can be, and was A&M, and they come and they won 2 or 3 games, and he was really fantastic. And this happens. I remember Wisconsin had a guy named Ron Vanderkellen once, and he went and won the Rose Bowl and became a Minnesota Vikings, but he was never meant to be a professional quarterback. But boy, he was a hero for Wisconsin for a while.
Yeah, and that definitely happens. And like you said, when Tom Brady came out of Michigan 20-plus years ago, he was in the 6th, 7th round, or 170, whatever it is, 97 pick, whatever it is. And he was thought of as a good college quarterback, but nobody ever saw what happened. What happened? I mean, come on. If you saw that coming, you're full of crap, is what you are, for lack of a better term. So, you're always looking for that diamond in the rough. And like I said, Kellen Mond was a third-round quarterback. I don't think it was a reach to take him there, but I don't think he's the long-range solution.
Well, the other thing is, offensively, I think the Vikings do well, except they still have to make some adjustments with that offensive line.
Now, they picked up a guard over the past week.
Yeah, which one was that?
From Indianapolis.
Okay.
He started, last 4 seasons, he started like 47 games.
Oh, that's good.
So they
better than Davis.
They picked up a guard. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to whatever the world, but obviously Indy either couldn't afford him, or obviously.
Oh, and we've seen the Vikings try to take up good offensive linemen and draft real high, and they just not pan out, and it happens a lot. Yeah, it's a tough game.
Well, it's a tough game. People get injured. People fall out of love with the game. I won't mention any names, but I was talking with somebody about their kid, and a few years ago was playing his sport really, really well, and right now is not playing the game. Just kind of like disenfranchised with the whole, whether it was COVID or whatever, and it just kind of seemed to change the kid. And so it's kind of one of those things when you look at it, you kind of go, I wonder how this all plays out, and you just never know. A guy all of a sudden can become a professional and get into the grind of it, and they're not going to school anymore, and they're whatever, and then all of a sudden they go, you know what? Football used to be fun. Now it's a job.
Yeah,
and I am making a lot of money doing it, but is it fun enough to go get my brains beaten every day? Some guys, it flips the switch. They don't want to do it anymore. And when you draft a guy out of college, you can't possibly know that.
No, and they're making this decision at a relatively young time of their life, 25 and 26.
Yeah.
And they're just saying that's enough. And they go with it. But, a lot of these kids are pretty talented to begin with, and they're not going to have any problems making an adjustment. And they all know somewhere along the line you have to make an adjustment. All but Tom Brady know this, of course.
Everyone.
Yeah.
What else?
Let's see here.
While he's searching, I'll bring up Gable Steveson.
Gable
made his appearance at WrestleMania.
He did.
I guess threw a suplex down on a guy, and
No, I'm not a WWE fan, but I've known a couple of people that have participated and got to know them personally. They're great guys, and it's kind of a dangerous sport. But like I said about Stevenson for a long time, he's a sportsman. He's a showman. He's a stand up. Look at what I can do, and he can do it, and he can do it very, very well. So he is going to be a very entertaining character, and he can do this for a long, long time and make a good deal of money. I'm not sure. I mean, his biggest fan is Mrs. McMahon now, so it's a strange situation.
Yeah, it's different. So he's gonna be the good guy. He'll be the bad guy. He'll be up. He'll be down. Obviously, it's a dangerous entertainment sport that he's in. Accidents happen. People get injured, and contracts get whatever. And I found it interesting that Stone Cold Steve Austin came out of retirement and won his first match in like 17 years or whatever it was, 14 years. Vince McMahon was out in the ring pulling off the tie and everything. Not that that's a big surprise, but Vince is I think Vince is like in his 70s.
Oh yeah, he's been around.
He's out there getting whacked around, which is well, like I said, I suppose if you do it once a year and then you're beat up and you feel crappy for the next 3-4 months, it's no big deal because you only got to go out there and do it once and then do what you got to do. But obviously WrestleMania, I didn't realize that last year it had become a 2-day event, and so they had wrestling going on Saturday night and Sunday night, and then of course I had to watch a little Raw last night just so I could get a flavor of what happened at WrestleMania, because I'm not going to pay $60 or $70, whatever it is, to watch WrestleMania. I can't do that. Heck, I can't even watch what's on regular TV. How would I pay for it? Pay for it, but anyway, we could not have a show without a Gable Steveson reference, so we're under contract to do so.
No, he's just a remarkable athlete, and I wish he could stay around forever, but he can't. He'd run out of people to wrestle, so he had to go on. Spring
sports got started locally. The track and field team's got a couple of indoor meets in. They're down in Bemidji today, and the Bronco baseball team, I've been told, has a game on Tuesday night down in Aurora on the artificial surface at Mesabi East against Cherry. I also know that Little Fork Big Falls is supposed to play on Thursday down at MIB, but if the Twins are going to cancel, I would guess that Little Fork Big Falls will probably be canceling a couple hundred miles north of that.
Yeah, well, they're kind of sissies down in the city, so it's hard to say. But they have these new fields down there. Mesabi East has a beautiful artificial turf, and we all know what the field looks like at Mountain Iron Buell, and
Rockridge is going to be
Rockridge is going to be.
Hibbing is getting one. Grand Rapids has artificial turf.
Now, our football turf here, I love that field. I thought it was a great field to play on. But what happens, of course, you have to maintain it. And
no soccer, no artificial turf. If you get soccer, then you get artificial turf. And we'll never have soccer, so we'll never have artificial turf.
Well, there you are.
It's a done deal. We're going to have the greatest grass field in the state of Minnesota forever.
It is a great field.
It's going to be there. Yeah. What else? Did you find anything else? Well,
no,
I got you off your feed there with the Gable Steveson comment.
No. I think that's pretty much it. I'm just saying, it's like going back to the Twins, they are a mystery. We'll see what they can pull up with. But I will be watching on Thursday with, in my heart, song in my heart, and saying, kill him.
Okay. What have you been reading? You've been reading anything? We haven't talked about what you've been reading for months.
Right now I'm reading a brand new history, get this, of Watergate. And this is, when it was happening, I read all the King's Men, all the President's Men, and all the rest of those. And of course, we all love the movie, but we come to find that the whole Watergate conspiracy thing was a whole lot more than Woodward and Bernstein writing about all the President's Men. It was very complicated, and it's a big, thick book, and it's got footnotes in it. And my wife says to me, "You read all those footnotes too?" No, but it's a great book, and I'm enjoying reading the heck out of it. And I have another book that it's a great big one. This is called Stalin's War. It's a brand new history of World War II, looking at it through the Russian eyes. And I wish I had been reading that. I just got it a couple of weeks ago, but I should have been reading that 6 months ago. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. And we know he's listening to the blues because he's got to get ready for a blues show every Saturday.
Oh, we got a good lineup. We got a good lineup this week.
We know that he hasn't been listening to. Who could I pick? He hasn't been listening to the Cars very much lately. How about that?
No, I haven't, but I miss him.
Guess what's probably going to go on the old turntable tonight when he gets home?
Well, it's just like, if I'm in a party mood when I get home, then that's exactly what'll happen. But now we don't have to. We're going to do a live show on Saturday, so I have plenty of time to plan this. I have an idea. I'll let it foster. I'll bring it on. I'm looking forward to Saturday night, and actually Thursday morning for our sports show too. We are very active.
We're very busy. Yeah, our new radio show. Sports Back Talk, 9:30 on KGHS and KSDM. If you watch us here in the Falls, a little bit more sports banter, but with maybe a little more, a bit of an edge where you're allowed to be controversial and take a phone call and disagree with one another.
Banter? Me banter?
I know, it's tough to believe that we could do that. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.